Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitang Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namane. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavad Paschatya Deshatarane Trinadapi Sunichena Tarat Ivasahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadahari Hare Nama Hare Nama Hare Nama Eva Kevalam Kalo Nastyeva 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 Gatiranyatha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Hadigo Bhakta Brinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Shrilesh ji, if there's any message, put the message in WhatsApp, because I can't see anything except my screen. Today, everybody, we're starting the final chapter, the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada entitles, Conclusion, the Perfection of Renunciation. Krishna explains the meaning of renunciation and the effects of the modes of nature on human consciousness and activity. Krishna explains Brahman realization, the glories of Bhagavad Gita, and the ultimate conclusion of the Gita, which is the highest path of religion, and it is absolute, unconditional, loving surrender unto Lord Krishna, which frees one from all sins, brings one to complete enlightenment, and enables one to return to Krishna's eternal abode. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So before we start chapter 18, Prabhupada writes that actually Bhagavad Gita is finished in 17 chapters. This 18th chapter is a re-summarization of everything that was previously explained. So we have 2 chapters that are summaries. Chapter 2 was the content summarized, and now this 18th chapter is another summary or revisiting of all the topics. Arjuna uvacha sanyasyasya mahabaho tattvamichchami veditum tyagasya cha rishikesha pritakkeshi nishudana. Arjuna said, O mighty armed one, I wish to understand the purpose of renunciation, tyag, and of the renounced order of life, sannyasa. O killer of the Keshi demon, master of the senses. So 2 names have been addressed here. Arjuna has addressed Krishna as Rishikesha. And if you look at the synonyms above, O master of the senses, Rishika Isha, the Lord of the senses, that is Krishna. And then the other name, Keshi Nishudana, O killer of the Keshi demon. Kamsa, one of the last demons Kamsa sent, was this Keshi or horse demon, which Krishna killed by sticking his arm and fist into the mouth of Keshi. And Krishna expanded his fist, and it was becoming very, very hot. So hot that Keshi suffocated and died just by Krishna putting his arm and hand, his wrist, his whole fist into Keshi's mouth. Because Krishna has omnipotency. Any one of his senses can do the work of any other. They're interchangeable. Krishna can eat with his eyes. Krishna can create simply by his willing. All of Krishna's senses are interchangeable. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Kamyanam Karmanam Nyasam Sanyasam Kavayo Vidu Sarva Karma Phalatyagam Prahustyagam Vichakshana. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, the giving up of activities that are based on material desire is what great learned men call the renounced order of life, sannyas. And giving up the results of all activities is what the wise call renunciation. So this topic of material desire has been discussed several times throughout this Bhagavad Gita. Material desire means I want to enjoy this material world with my material senses to the fullest extent. And when we have read previously that one should become desireless, it means one should give up all material desires for sense gratification. But desireless does not mean giving up the desire to serve Rishikesha, the previous verse. The senses are meant to serve Rishikesha. That is the true purpose of one's senses. And that is the definition of bhakti, whereby you use your senses in order to serve the master of the senses. And that line comes from Narada Muni. Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam. Rishikena, that's the instrumental case in Sanskrit, meaning with or by. So Rishikena means with or by your senses. Rishikesha Sevanam. You serve Rishikesha, the master, the lord of the senses. And Arjuna has pointed out who Rishikesha is. It is the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. That is the true purpose of the material senses. So that should never be given up. But what should be given up is the desire to enjoy the material world. Tyajam dosha vadityeke karma prahur menishina yagyadana tapakarma natyajam iti chapare. Some learned men declare that all kinds of fruitive activities should be given up as faulty, yet other sages maintain that acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance should never be abandoned. Nishchayam srinume tatra tyage bharata satama tyago hi purusha vyagra trivida samprakirtita. O best of the Bharatas, now hear my judgment about renunciation. O tiger among men, renunciation is declared in the scriptures to be of three kinds. So ever since chapter 14, the major discussions have been these three modes of nature. In last week's class in chapter 17, everything was defined according to the modes of nature. And chapter 14 also, a summary of the modes of nature were given. Now in this chapter 18, in the first half, again, so many different subjects are going to be discussed in terms of the modes of nature. Yagyadana tapak karma natyajam karyam evatat yagyodanang tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. Acts of sacrifice, charity, and penance are not to be given up. They must be performed. Indeed, sacrifice, charity, and penance purify even the great souls. So for us, sacrifice, the definition of sacrifice, to do something which pleases Krishna. As Krishna said in chapter 3, works done for the satisfaction of Vishnu must be performed, otherwise one's works will become causes of bondage. We learned that early in chapter 3. So sacrifice means to act, to work, to do everything in such a way that it satisfies Guru and Krishna. Why did I say Guru? Because Prabhupada points out, we have no way of knowing what will actually satisfy Krishna. The only way we know that we are satisfying Krishna is if we obey the instructions of the spiritual master. As long as one is obeying the spiritual master, then Krishna is automatically pleased. Charity will be explained also, as was explained in last chapter. And penance. So there are different types of penance. One very big penance is coming up. Ekadashi. That is very good penance to perform. Penance means to deny yourself some material pleasure in order to gain a higher achievement. The supreme penance is celibacy. But Ekadashi is a great day for performing penance. Etanyapi tu karmani sangyam tyaktva phalani cha kartavanyiti me parta nishchitam matam uttamam. All these activities should be performed without attachment or any expectation of result. That's the mode of goodness. We have seen that throughout chapter 14 and 17. This is the common denominator of the mode of goodness, without attachment and without any expectation of result. They should be performed as a matter of duty. That also has been stressed all throughout Bhagavad Gita. The symptom of the mode of goodness is that one does everything simply because it is prescribed by Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. That is how a true follower of Krishna behaves. And Krishna is now saying, that's my final opinion. Niyatasya tu sannyasa karmano nopapadyate mohatasya parityagas tamasa parikirtita. Prescribed duties should never be renounced. If one gives up prescribed duties because of illusion, such renunciation is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So that was Arjuna in chapter 1. Arjuna wanted to renounce the war and become a sannyasi. He was thinking that to fight the war was sinful. But Krishna has already, in chapter 2 and afterwards, has stressed to Arjuna that it's his duty to fight this war. So here again, and this message has been repeated throughout Gita, one should execute one's prescribed duties, even if it means death. as in the case of Arjuna. There was no guarantee, but Krishna pointed out to Arjuna, if you simply do your prescribed duties, worst case scenario is you're going to the heavenly planets. And if you win the war, you will rule the entire earth. So Krishna was pointing out, if Arjuna simply performs his prescribed duties, it's a win-win situation. So, this point of executing prescribed duties has been stressed throughout Gita and will again be expressed in this chapter later on. Dukam etyeva yat karma kaya klesha bhayat tyajit sakritva rajasang tyagam naiva tyaga phalang labet. Anyone who gives up prescribed duties as troublesome or out of fear of bodily discomfort is said to have renounced in the mode of passion. Such action never leads to the elevation of renunciation. Karyam ityeva yat karma niyatang kriyaterjuna sangang tyaktva phalang chaiva Chatyaga satviko mata. O Arjuna, when one performs his prescribed duty only because it ought to be done, and renounces all material association and all abandoned attachment to the fruit, his renunciation is said to be in the mode of goodness. So here is how we should model ourselves. This is how we should live. What has my spiritual master prescribed? What do the scriptures prescribe? What do the saintly persons, past, present, prescribe? But most important is, what does my spiritual master prescribe? And as it says here, you execute your duties and you abandon all attachment to the fruit. That's what it means to live in the mode of goodness. Only because it ought to be done. No other purpose. Nadvesha kushalang karma kushale nanu sajjate tyagi sattva samavishto medhavi chinna sangshaya. The intelligent renouncer, situated in the mode of goodness, neither hateful of inauspicious work, nor attached to auspicious work, has no doubts about work. So, being hateful and being attached means you're still on the bodily concept of life, in the mode of passion. But if you're in the mode of goodness, you simply do your prescribed duty and you don't hesitate. Nahi deha brita shakyam tyaktum karmanya sheshata yastu karma phalatyagi satyagit yabadiyate. It is indeed impossible for an embodied being to give up all activities, but he who renounces the fruits of action is called one who has truly renounced. So this was already addressed in chapter 3, that the spirit soul is always active. Even while sleeping, the mind is still active. So at least one of the senses is always active, because the spirit soul by nature is active. To be inactive is unnatural, because the soul by nature is active, either on the material plane or the spiritual plane. That's what it means to be alive, to be active. But here Krishna is pointing out, so it's not a question of giving up activities, as Arjuna wanted to do in the beginning. But one must renounce the fruits of action. Anishtam ishtam misram cha trividam karmana phalam Bhavat yat yaginam pretya na tu sannyasinam kvachit. For one who is not renounced, the threefold fruits of action, namely desirable, undesirable, and mixed, accrue after death. So what does that mean? If you don't achieve this renounced platform, you will have to take birth again, and you will reap the fruits. Some of those fruits will be desirable fruits, some will be undesirable, and some will be mixed, as you are currently experiencing in your present life. Some things that happen to you, you like them. Some things that happen you don't like. And some things are both. You like and don't like at the same time. And that is because we have not reached this stage of renunciation. But those who are in the renounced order of life have no such result to suffer or enjoy. Panchaitani mahabaho karanani nibodhame sanke kritanti proktani siddhaye sarvakarmanam. O mighty armed Arjuna, according to the Vedanta, there are 5 causes for the accomplishment of all action. Now learn of these from me. So this word, Vedanta, is 2 words. Veda, anta, the end or conclusion of knowledge. Knowledge does not mean, like a computer, keep amassing more and more information, as if the goal of life is to become a personal human Google. No, that's not the goal of life, simply to acquire more knowledge, more. No, there has to be a conclusion. Knowledge has to end somewhere. So that's Vedanta. Vedanta, of course, was presented by Veda Vyasadeva in his Vedanta Sutras. And there the conclusion is given. And Krishna already told us that in chapter 15, when he said, Vedaischa sarvair aham eva vedyo, Vedanta krid Veda vid eva chaham. Krishna already pointed out what is the conclusion of Vedanta. It is him. To come to Krishna, to accept Krishna, to surrender to Krishna, to love Krishna. That is Vedanta. That is the conclusion of the Vedas. So let's hear about these 5 causes for the accomplishment of any material action. Adishtanam tata karta karanam cha pratagvidam vividhas cha pritak cheshta daivam chaivatra panchamam. The place of action, the body. The performer, that's you. The various senses. We have 11 senses: hands, legs, throat, genital, anus, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and then the hidden sense, the mind. Those are the 11 senses. The many different kinds of endeavor, because there are many ways to do things, so many different ways to do things. And ultimately the super soul. These are the 5 factors of action. So look at the Sanskrit, the synonyms. Daivam, that's the 5th principle. And that we already learned in chapter 15. And we learned in chapter 13 as better. In chapter 13 we learned this line, Anumanta hi upadrashta. Krishna says, as the super soul, I am the one that's overseeing, and I am the one who is sanctioning. I am the one permitting. That is Daivam. That is the super soul. We can, all the other things, you may have an excellent body to work with. You may be a very good performer. Your senses may be in top shape, and you may be expert in different kinds of endeavor, but if Super Soul doesn't sanction it, you will not be successful in your endeavor. So the most important item is Super Soul, because the other four are dependent on Super Soul. He's overseeing and he's sanctioning or permitting. Shariravan manobiryat karma prarabhate nara nyayang va viparitang va panchayate tasya hetave. Whatever right and wrong action a man performs by body, mind, or speech is caused by these 5 factors. So Krishna has analyzed what's going on in this material world. This is what's going on. These 5 factors, and the most important, Daivam, Krishna in the heart as Super Soul. Tatraivam satikartaram atmanam kevalam tuya pashyat yakrita buddhitvan nasa pasyati duramati. Therefore, one who thinks himself the only doer, not considering the 5 factors, is certainly not very intelligent and cannot see things as they are. In chapter 3, this was also stated in a different way. The foolish man thinks that he is doing everything. Everything falls down to him. But here we have already learned in this chapter, you need the cooperation of the Super Soul. So you may be the doer. The verse said, Karta, the doer or the performer. Yes, but you're not the only doer. There's also the Krishna factor. Yasya nahang krito bhavo buddhir yasya nalipyate hadvapi sa imalokan nahanti na nibhajyate. One who is not motivated by false ego, whose intelligence is not entangled, though he kills men in this world, does not kill, nor is he bound by his actions. So this verse is specifically for Arjuna. In chapter 1, he was motivated by false ego. We have explained so many times what is false ego. False ego is I identify as something other than Krishna's eternal servant. That's false ego. Real ego, because the soul is a person, the soul is individual, so there must be ego. True ego, Jivera Swarupahai Krishnera Nityadas. Lord Chaitanya told Sanatan, here is real ego. You are the eternal servant of God. That's it. That is our ego. Jnanam Gyayam Parigyata Trividha Karma Chodana Karanang Karma Karteti Trividha Karma Sangraha. Knowledge, the object of knowledge, and the knower are the 3 factors that motivate action. So yes, everybody needs inspiration or motivation. So these 3 things, you yourself, because you are the knower, and Super Soul is also the knower. So those, you and Super Soul, are motivating factors. The knowledge that you acquire, that will be a motivating factor. And then, what is the purpose of that knowledge? As it says here, the object of knowledge. For instance, say you are a businessman. So the knowledge you have is how to do good business. Either you learn from an expert or you read various books and you acquire a sharp knowledge how to do good business. And what's the object of your business? Make money. So, knowledge, the object of knowledge, and so these 3 things are the motivators. The senses, the work, and the doer are the three constituents of action. So you have your senses, you have the particular work you are doing, and then you yourself. That has to be there. Jnanam karma cha karta cha tridhaiva guna vedata procyate guna sankyane yatavat trinotanyapi. According to the three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge, action, and performer of action. Now hear of them from me. As I said, this chapter, first half, the first 40 verses, is all about the modes of nature. Sarva bhuteshu yenaikam bhavam avyayam ikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajjnanam vidisatvikam. That knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. So we have already learned in chapter 13, there are two knowers of the field. The field is the body. So within the body there are two knowers. You, the individual soul, and super soul. So both the super soul and you are spiritual in nature. In that sense, we are one with God. God is spiritual and the soul is spiritual. That makes us one with God. The difference is, we've already learned in Bhagavad Gita, the difference between super soul and the spirit soul. As we learned, from super soul comes knowledge, remembrance, forgetfulness. The super soul is the ultimate decider. We learned that in this chapter. The super soul is the overseer and permitter. The super soul is Vibhu, all powerful. The spirit soul is Anu, atomic. So although we are one in quality, potency is a big difference. The potency of a child is greatly different from the potency of a grown man. The potency of the living entity has atomic potency, whereas Krishna has superhuman, supernatural powers, inconceivable. And technically it is called Achintya Shakti. God has Achintya Shakti, inconceivable potencies. Pritakvena tu yajnanam nana bhavan pritak vidan veti sarveshu bhuteshu tajjnanam vidirajasam. That knowledge by which one sees that in every different body there is a different type of living entity, you should understand to be in the mode of passion. So this is how the person in the mode of passion, he sees according to the body. A person in the mode of goodness sees according to soul and super soul. But someone in the mode of passion sees according to bodies. Yattu kritsna vad ekasmin karye saktam ahaitukam atat varata vad alamcha tatamasamudaritam. And that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. Key here, without knowledge of the truth. So the truth is being taught throughout 18 chapters of Bhagavad Gita. That is this is where to find truth. Bhagavad Gita. Niyatang sangha rahitam aragadveshatakritam afala prepsuna karma yat tat satvikam uchyate. That action which is regulated and which is performed without attachment, without love or hatred, and without desire for fruitive result is said to be in the mode of goodness. We've seen this kind of verse several times already, in previous chapters and in this chapter. It's consistent. This is the nature of the mode of goodness, regulated. At the end of chapter 3, it was stated how to conquer over the senses, how to conquer over lust, specifically was the topic. How to conquer over the public enemy number one, lust. And Krishna's final instruction was, you conquer lust by regulating the senses. Just like a man has a tendency to want to enjoy sex, so it is regulated in marriage. That's how it's regulated. And other regulations are there. Bhagavad Gita in the previous chapter, foods in the mode of goodness, foods in the mode of passion, foods in the mode of ignorance. So regulations must be there. It's not that I'm free. Yes, you're free to do whatever you want, but that doesn't mean you're free from the reactions. You have freedom, minute freedom, to choose the mode of passion, ignorance, or goodness. But the results that come afterward, that's not up to you. That's already predetermined. So regulation is a symptom of the mode of goodness. Yattu kamepsuna karma sahankarena vapuna kriyate bahulayasam tadrajasam udaritam. But action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion. So, great intense effort. We heard that already in chapter 14 and in chapter 16. We heard this already. One seeking to gratify desires. Yes, material desires. Why? Enacted from a sense of false ego, as I already explained today. What's false ego? To think in terms of other than I'm servant of Krishna. In other words, I think I am the enjoyer. I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm a Panamanian, I'm a Hindu, I'm Americano. This is all false ego. Why do I think like that? Because I want to gratify the desires. That's the mode of passion. Anubandhang chayam hingsam anapeksha chaparusham mohad arabate karma yattattamasam uchyate. That action performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. Yes, illusion. What? You don't know what is the truth. You don't act according to Bhagavad Gita. So you're acting in illusion in terms of a false ego view of life. Disregard of scriptural injunctions. That was mentioned at the end of chapter 16. The demon does not know what is to be done and what is not to be done. That was the demarcating symptom of a demon. Neither does he care. The demon doesn't care for scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage. Yes. Someone may hear, oh, if you indulge in too much drinking of alcohol, you will destroy your liver. But some people are, I don't know about Panama, but in America, for the past so many years, on the package of the cigarettes, it's clearly stated, this product will cause cancer. But still the person, because of uncontrolled senses, smokes anyway, without any concern what's going to happen in the future. He's destroying his body, but he doesn't care. Or for violence or distress caused to others. Yes, it's not that Krishna wants Arjuna to fight this war because Krishna wants to establish real religion. Duryodhana and his brothers, they are fighting this war because of envy and pride and jealousy and obstinacy and hubris. And they don't mind causing violence or the Pandavas were very conscientious. But Krishna wants them to fight this war on the basis of religion, dharma, on truth. Mukta sango nahang vadi, driti utsaha samanvita, sid asidyor nivikara, karta satvika uchyate. One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in the mode of goodness. So here's how to be a first-class worker. You perform your duty. You don't have any false ego. That's like in the business. You have the boss and you have the workers. If the workers think, no, I'm the boss, and that's false ego. No, the worker is the worker and the boss is the boss. And the worker should act accordingly with great determination and enthusiasm. This enthusiasm, this is the first item which will guarantee success in your devotional life. If you are enthusiastic to execute the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, you will be successful. And without wavering in success or failure. This is the mode of goodness. The person in the mode of passion becomes disturbed and affected by success or failure, but not a person in the mode of goodness. He does his duty. Ragi karma phala prepsur, lubdo hingsatmako suchi, harsha shokan vitakarta, rajasa parikirtita. The worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be in the mode of passion. Ayukta prakrita stabda, shato naiskritiko lasa, dishadi dirga shutricha, karta tamasa uchyate. The worker who is always engaged in work against the injunctions of the scripture, who is materialistic, obstinate, cheating, and expert in insulting others, and who is lazy, always morose and procrastinating, is said to be a worker in the mode of ignorance. So Krishna is pointing out the symptoms. If you see any of these symptoms in yourself, now you know what to do. Buddher bhedam dritischaiva, gunatastri vidam shrinu, prochamanam asheshena, pritakmena dhananjaya. O winner of wealth, now please listen as I tell you in detail of the different kinds of understanding and determination according to the three modes of material nature. Pravitting cha navritting cha, karya karye, bhaya bhaye, bandham moksham chaya veti, buddhi sa parata sattvaki. O son of Pritha, that understanding by which one knows what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, what is to be feared and what is not to be feared, what is binding and what is liberating, is in the mode of goodness. Yes, And it's all based on what does the Shastra say. And I pointed this out previously, and I will point it out again. Bhagavad Gita is the one book that suffices for you to know what is to be done and what is not to be done. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha karyam eva cha ayatavat prajanati buddhisa partha rajasi. O son of Pritha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, between action that should be done and action that should not be done, is in the mode of passion. Yes, one becomes confused because one has not surrendered to Guru, Sadhu, and Shastra. Person in the mode of goodness has his Guru, has the Shastra, and has the example of previous and present saintly persons. So the person in the mode of goodness never has any doubts. He knows, if there's a problem, I go to these three things. But the person in the mode of passion is confused and doesn't take shelter of these three things. Adharmang dharma itiya manyate tamasavrata sarvartang viparitangscha buddhisa paratatamasi. That understanding which considers irreligion to be religion and religion to be irreligion under the spell of illusion and darkness, and which always strives in the wrong direction, O Partha, is in the mode of ignorance. Yes, the mode of ignorance is the complete mirror opposite of the mode of goodness. It's mentioned by Krishna in the Uddhava Gita, which is found in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, how one should view the three different modes. The mode of goodness should be extolled, the mode of goodness should be pursued, the mode of goodness should be followed. The mode of passion, one should be indifferent. And the mode of ignorance, one must forcefully reject. That's how to deal with the three modes. Dritya yaya dharayate manak pranendriya kriya yogena vyabhicharinya dritti sa paratasatvaki. O son of Pritha, that determination which is unbreakable, which is sustained with steadfastness by yoga practice, and which thus controls the activities of the mind, life, and senses, is determination in the mode of goodness. There you have it. These are the things to strive for. Yayatu dharmam karmartan dritya dharya terjuna prasangena phalankangshi drittisa partha rajasi. But that determination by which one holds fast to fruitive results in religion, economic development, and sense gratification is of the nature of passion, O Arjuna. Yes, in the mode of passion, the whole impetus is how to enjoy. That's it. Whatever it takes, I simply want to enjoy. Yaya swapnam bhayam shokam vishadam madam evacha na vimunchati durmeda dritti sa paratatamasi. And that determination, which cannot go beyond dreaming, fearfulness, lamentation, moroseness, and illusion, such unintelligent determination, O son of Pritha, is in the mode of darkness. Yes, this dreaming, that is the symptom of the mode of ignorance. Thinking, oh, I will win the lottery. Oh, one day I'll be this, I'll do that. But nothing ever materializes. And then, moroseness. Yes, That is another symptom of the mode of ignorance. Always morose, always blaming others for one's lot in life. That is not how a devotee thinks. Arjuna was lamenting in chapter 1, so much so that he dropped his bow. But Krishna has been speaking Bhagavad Gita, and Krishna has been directly attacking his lamentation and moroseness and illusion by giving him this Bhagavad Gita. Sukam tu idinang trividam shrinu me bharatarshava abhyasad brahmate yatra dukhantam cha nigachyati. O best of the Bharatas, now please hear from me about the 3 kinds of happiness by which the conditioned soul enjoys, by which he sometimes comes to the end of all distress. So even happiness comes in 3 varieties. Not all happiness is the same. This is for me, this was a very eye-opening section of the Gita when I started to study Gita very scrutinizingly many years ago. This section really opened my eyes. Yattad agre visham iva pariname mritopamam tat sukham satvikam proktam atma buddhi prasadajam. That which in the beginning may be just like poison, but at the end is just like nectar, and which awakens one to self-realization, is said to be happiness in the mode of goodness. Let's look at Prabhupada's purport for the explanation. In the pursuit of self-realization, one has to follow many rules and regulations to control the mind and senses, and to concentrate the mind on the self. All these procedures are very difficult, bitter like poison. But if one is successful in following the rules and regulations and comes to the transcendental position, he begins to drink real nectar and he enjoys life. So it's mentioned in the 7th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. The mode of goodness becomes enhanced by the time element. In other words, yes, to begin chanting, to begin following Ekadasi, to begin regular study of the Bhagavad Gita, to begin all the different items of Krishna consciousness, in the beginning may seem uncomfortable, may seem difficult, and you may be thinking, I'm not enjoying this. So yes, that's a symptom of the mode of goodness. In the beginning, it's like poison, but if you stick to it, little by little by little by little, you become purified, and in the end, you are actually enjoying. Rupa Goswami gives another example. This example is in regards to chanting the holy name. Let me drink some water. Rasoham apsukaunteya. We learned in chapter 7 that Krishna is the taste of water. So I'm drinking water and realizing, yes, what Krishna says is true. It quenches the thirst. So Rupa Goswami says that the name of Krishna is the sweetest of sweet things. But because we are diseased, what is our disease? Ignorance. And he compares that disease to jaundice. Now, a person with jaundice, it's a disease of the liver. The cure for jaundice is to drink sugarcane juice. I remember when I used to come to Panama every year, starting in 1999, Shama Chandra would take me to a place there in Cologne where you had sugarcane juice. There would be a guy and he would have a sugarcane machine and we would get sugarcane. I remember that. And also my trips to India. It's very common to get fresh sugarcane juice. So that sugarcane juice is the cure for jaundice. But the problem is that when you have jaundice, you cannot taste anything sweet. So for the person who has jaundice, sweet things, he cannot taste it. Just like it is said that one of the symptoms of COVID-19 is that you lose your taste. So right now we don't have a taste for Krishna's sweet name. And to begin chanting for most of us, in the beginning, it's like bitter poison. But that's because we have the jaundice of ignorance. But the person with jaundice, if he's intelligent, forces himself to drink the sugarcane juice, knowing that is what's going to cure me. Yes, it's bitter, but I have to accept the medicine. Now, as the person continues to drink the sugarcane juice, little by little by little, day by day, the jaundice disease is being cured. So the next time he takes the sugarcane juice, it's less bitter, less bitter, less bitter. And when he's completely cured of the jaundice, he's now able to taste the nice sweet taste of the sugarcane juice. So in the same way, chanting, this is the most sweetest thing. So by force, by the order of the spiritual master, we chant regulated every day. And little by little by little, we acquire a taste. Vishayendriya samyogad tat yat tad agre mitopamam pariname visham iva tat sukam rajasam smritam. That happiness which is derived from contact of the senses with their objects, and which appears like nectar at first, but poison at the end, is said to be of the nature of passion. Yes, mode of passion means immediate sense gratification. You eat one gulab jamun, delicious. Let me have another, and another, but then at a certain point, if somebody offers you a gulab jamun, you have eaten too many. You have no more, you have reached the stage of satiation. So that's the mode of passion. In the beginning, you're enjoying, but then comes the day when that very thing you do not enjoy. So in the beginning, it's nectar, but the time element does not favor the mode of passion as it does in the mode of goodness. The time element causes the mode of passion to dwindle day after day. Yadagre chanubande cha sukam mohanam atmana nidra lasya pramadotam tatamasam hudaritam. And that happiness, which is blind to self-realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be of the nature of ignorance. So this mode of ignorance, where do you find mode of ignorance? In the places where they serve alcohol, in the places of prostitution, in the place of animal slaughter, in the places where they're gambling. That's like Prabhupada insisted that to become his disciple, you had to give up illicit sex, meat eating, intoxication, and gambling, because these activities are completely detrimental to self-realization. They simply cause further bondage. These activities are in the mode of ignorance, and they take you deeper and deeper into the modes of nature. I'm going to stop here, and we'll finish Bhagavad Gita in our next class. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.